Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Cut the Curve. I'm Philip Zweig, and I'm welcoming my man Trent Ellingford
Thank
out
you.
of Phoenix. He's coming out of Phoenix. So, Cut the Curve, I interview mentors, moguls, and serial entrepreneurs, and not only real estate, but business, finance, entertainment, and I'm so honored to have Trent back for a second time. He is an expert in the commercial wholesale space. So let's get into this, Trent, man. Good to have you here.
Yeah, good to be here again, man. Let's talk. What do you want to talk about?
Yeah, October was the last time we checked in, and we're talking about your business model and some pivots that you were doing. And
Yeah.
So I know you specialized many years in commercial wholesale. So what have you been doing the last 6 months since we've hung out?
A lot. It's been a lot of growth, and things that come along with that are some. I don't want to say the word problems, obstacles, right? As you grow and you scale, I've got some incredible people that I work with. Some incredible clients that I work with and deal flow. So it's just creating that infrastructure to scale with the influx of deal flow and the dispo.
For
and
sure,
everything that goes
for
with
sure.
that. But
There's a
it's,
lot that goes into it, bro. And my understanding, we're sitting here right now. We're having a special episode at the Clever Investor office here in Tempe. So
Yeah.
you have a couple different offices that you're in right now.
Yeah, so I still have an office that's just close to home,
Uh-huh.
and so that's nice. I can go duck in and have that space. But when I came out here, well, Bryant said,
Love Brian Applis.
Yeah,
Come
Brian
to his
Applis,
deal
awesome.
exchange.
Yep, deal exchange tomorrow.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And Christian Cotta, they opened. He brought in Hungry Investments. They opened the commercial real estate side of their business.
Synergy. Yeah.
And came and checked it out, and their model a lot different than mine. And so the way we can complement each other in that synergy. And so I came out again, and it just, there's a lot of power in just being around other people in the space,
Smarter
doing
than
the
you,
business.
doing things differently. They
Well,
have a
you don't have to go
different
there and say
perspective.
smarter than me, but
Well,
it's true, they are smarter
Trent.
than me. No, like in all seriousness,
different
100%.
Uh-huh.
And so power and proximity, right?
Love that.
And so it just made sense. It's like, look, because I don't drive here because it's convenient. It's not far. Don't get me wrong. I drive here and I took out an office here just to be around other people in the space that are fucking crushing it. They're killing it. And yeah, that collaboration.
I love that. The collaboration. I look at it as we're rap stars, right? Like rapping people always.
It's funny. That's every morning I look in the mirror. I'm like, I'm a rap star.
I got to get you a chain. So, anywho, I love the fact that I'm actually going to get an office here too, beginning of the month, bro.
Yeah.
So, and that's intentional. That the only reason is I'm ready to be around people that can elevate me in what I do.
Yep. It's about leveling up. I preach this all the time. It's just networking.
Yes.
Right. And I keep stealing this from Bradley. I think I might have to start paying him. But the more hands you shake, the more money you make.
Love that.
Just,
Who's Bradley?
Check out the real Bradley.
Okay. Dope.
But that just networking and collaboration. Yes, that again, we don't have to talk just real estate. But when it comes to real estate, there are so many different strategies and ways to source deals and find deals. But one of the best ways is just networking and talking to other people in the space.
That's free, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's an excellent tip. And why do you think some people don't actually?
Great question. Haven't given it a lot of thought, but off the cuff, I think a couple reasons. Number one, it's probably scary for some people. Just reaching out and talking to somebody that you don't know. Yeah, fear of what if I say something wrong or if I mess up or whatever.
Rejection's a big thing, bro. So I did Tony Robbins years ago, and one of the first exercises is you have to go up to complete strangers. And I was comfortable because I've done sales, but for some people, it's it's not in their comfort zone.
So I think that's part of it, and I really think some people, and again, this is an assumption, but maybe think it's just, well, that's too easy, right? No. What I've noticed with people that I've worked with too is I always start with, okay, networking. talking, speaking with brokers, speaking with other people in the space,
Yes.
other investors,
And
speak with wholesalers, speak with contractors.
love it.
But then once we pivot and start saying, okay, now if you want to go to off-market properties, which, look, you can get off-market properties from brokers, right? You develop that relationship, you get pocket deals, and like some of the best deals I've seen have come from brokers.
Pocket listings, right? Like
Absolutely.
that's how I like develop realtors that I work with. They bring me stuff that they'll list it for a day, but we know we got it.
Yeah.
Right? So
But I do think that once you make that shift and then you start focusing on building out systems and processes,
that's
to
what I'm
source
doing right now.
off-market
And you're doing
properties,
that right now.
whether it could, maybe you're pulling data, you're skip tracing, you're cold calling, your SMS, or whatever it is that you choose to do. You get so hyper focused on that, you forget about.
Good point.
Hey, no, networking, talking to people.
Yes. So intentionally going out, like that's what I'm doing is like, all right, 5:30 comes, I'm still networking. I still could go out to meetups or whatever. So, man, I was with Brent Daniels today of TTP, and that's his whole thing too, bro.
Yeah, that's his whole thing. TTP, right? Talk to people.
Yeah,
so.
that's his philosophy, and it boils down to getting yourself out there because that's free to start, right? Then.
Did you get a shirt?
Damn, I forgot. But do you have shirts, Jack?
No.
No? We'll have to get you to make some shirts. I got the Flip Man shirts. I'll bring you one.
All right. Next time I'll have some shirts.
Sweet. So, it's fascinating to me how there's so many amazing teachers out of Arizona. Like,
it's really interesting, and I've said that many times. Like, and I'm not from here, right? I'm originally from Salt Lake City, but when I moved here, and I knew of a lot of the kind of like the gurus, but I don't like say that in a dismissive way.
I hate that way.
Because,
that word is
because
like,
these are guys that are really doing the business.
They're
right?
really smart in their space.
And and to discredit them is definitely the wrong approach because these guys are crushing it. And they, but you come to Arizona, they're all here, and maybe it's because of that competition. But what's really cool is there's such a collaboration between all of them. So maybe that's why too, right?
It never used to be like that. When
No.
I was here, early 2000s, it was more competitive.
More competitive.
Yeah, like.
But now that collaboration,
That's
it's
it.
not
We're all about, bro.
not having a scarcity mindset.
No.
Well, if I share this with you, now you're going to run it, and that's going to take business away from me. People don't have that approach.
Not anymore.
It's like this rising tide will also rises all ships, right? So, like, if I can help you, it's going to in turn help me, and we're all going to do better.
Yeah, and Forrest Blackburn, who's actually right up in the same office space building as us, he came out of San Diego, and he did make a comment when he was on the show, Trent. He said Arizona is like the Silicon Valley of teachers that really are caring and actually doing things.
I think that's accurate.
Yeah. So we're blessed, man. So we want to give back, and I mean, for me at least, that's my whole thing. I want to help people over that fear of the unknown because you don't know what you don't know, and it's so available right now to get mentorship, tribe mentality, hang out with people you want to be like.
Whatever it is that you're looking for,
Yep.
right?
Social media makes it much easier.
Maybe it's just free content on social media or YouTube. Maybe it is being part of a group or a tribe or a community because there's some really good ones that are out there. Maybe it is more mentorship, whatever it is, or maybe it's just different groups or meetups. It's all accessible. There's
Nowadays,
so much information like that wasn't available when I was younger, when you were younger. Like it just now, if you want it, it's there. You just got to go out and get
I
it.
remember trying to find a mentor. I literally had to write that down in my journal that I'm looking for someone to mentor me. So eventually it came, but I had to ask the title company. I'm a new investor. I'm looking someone that's been doing it a while, and eventually that mentorship came. But nowadays with social media, people can hit me, hit you. Hey, what do you guys got going? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's a different time and age. So tell me more about your background, because I overheard you talking to Cody, and you had said you worked with HGTV and some promotional events out there, and your background?
So I wasn't always in commercial. Residential was my background. You know, I started in real estate over 20 years ago, and it was residential. Initially, I started as buy and hold, and interestingly enough, I wasn't introduced to wholesaling, didn't even know what that was. I was introduced that here in Arizona by Dean Graciosi. So it's just somebody else here in this area.
So how did you meet Dean? Like, that's a giant name for...
Yeah, so
look him up, Google him. Like, he's partnering with Tony Robbins. I mean, he's like Carlton Sheets got me started way back in the day. I ordered one of his programs.
Yeah.
And, you know, Dean's one of the old school dudes.
He is, and he's done it forever, and he's done an incredible job. So I had the background in real estate, and then I started working with a promotional company that was working with some of these big guys and some of the HGTV guys or whatever. And so that, again, power and proximity, and was able to get involved in that, and did some different platform speaking and stuff, and got to work with some really cool people.
How was that? Were you comfortable being, because I know that's a big fear for a lot of people, being in front of, like,
I don't know if this is accurate, but I've heard that it's like the biggest fear. Like death is number 2, which is kind of crazy.
I did not know that.
No, that's something I've felt and still feel like pretty comfortable with, is speaking in front of people. That's not really an issue for me. So I'm thankful for that. But it was a great experience. It was cool. I'm in a different place in my life right now.
Sure. But I'm sure that taught you.
Not opposed to doing it, but, you know, I have my business and our investments and my family and my girls, which I like to be home for and present with. But
what is it? 6 girls in the house and 1 female, 1 male, like, or
5. Yeah,
5 female. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
bro.
my wife.
We're gonna have to go out and do some
16,
shots
and
or something.
I got the triplets that are 8.
That's amazing. Yeah. I love that. And you guys are down in this place that I'm going to be moving to soon, Arcadia. Down there.
Love that area.
Beautiful area. So, man, so you went from working with did you?
So I didn't work with HGTV per se.
Because you know Forrest did, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was working with Tarek and those
Forrest
guys.
and I like discussed that because he said, well, then you know Tarek. And I'm like, well, I know him, but that's actually one of the guys I didn't work with.
Okay.
But I worked with several of the other TV shows and stars that were on there.
Man. So do you have one takeaway from that?
Not prepared for that question. One takeaway.
You got to be quick on cut the curve.
Yeah. You're going to edit this, right? So it's a quick answer. You know, I'll tell you a couple takeaways. I think one takeaway from one of the gentlemen that I worked with is that there's always opportunity and difficulty, because he had kind of built his
Love that.
background.
Opportunity and difficulty.
Well, he had built his wealth, I should say. He built his wealth by buying and selling land along California. So he found a mentor. He wanted to go big in real estate, and this guy would source land from like farmers, etc., and buy big acres, a couple hundred acres, rezone it so it could be developed. And so he jumped in and started hitting the phones, started pounding the pavement and going and knocking doors and speaking with farmers to source this land, which they would buy and then get it rezoned so they could either sell it or they could develop it. And he did very, very well. And the recession hit, 2007, 2008.
Man, I felt that. I think all of us did who were in it, yes.
Yeah. And he was in a good enough financial place. He just said, you know what? Everything's going south. The market's crashing. His assets are crashing. I'm just going to disconnect. I'm going to move to Costa Rica for a couple years, and when things kind of settle, I'll come back. And so that was his plan. And he had a friend in Las Vegas that said, you got to come out here and see what's going on, because they're picking up houses for like nothing, right?
Yeah.
And he came out and he saw it, and instead of moving to Costa Rica, he planted his feet there and just killed it, just picking up properties for $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 that were $50,000 maybe that were previously selling for $500,000. I remember driving through Las Vegas, and Phoenix was hit hard, very similar.
Hell yeah.
You see these new developments, $1 million homes, which doesn't seem like a lot of money now, but it was then.
Yes.
just on the golf course, one after another, after another,
Sad,
after
it
another,
was sad.
all vacant.
Yes.
And the grass on the
Florida,
golf
I
course
remember
dead,
Florida,
you know.
how Florida looked
Yeah.
in that time.
But that what an opportunity to create wealth, 'cause
amazing,
you
Chris.
pick
I
those
mean,
up
so
dirt
many
cheap.
dudes. Not so many. I'd say there was a handful. Frank Berry, Chris Hughes. They bought in Maryville, pennies on the dollar, like 100, 150 homes, because they had that insight. So some people, like your guy that you talked about, what made him different than, say, Bob? Why wasn't everyone hopping on that train?
Yeah, I think a couple things to that too. One, just recognizing the opportunity and looking, because you got to be looking for that, right? There's
Because what was that you said about opportunity? Because I know you said power and
difficulty
proximity.
creates opportunity.
Love that. So that's a golden gem right there. Power and proximity is one. Difficulty creates opportunity.
That's the only two I got.
Okay.
But there's two sides to every equation, right? Money isn't lost; it just exchanges hands. And so when the market is crashing and people feel that they're losing money, well, no, where the fuck's it going?
It's going
Like,
somewhere.
yeah.
It's going, yeah.
So
It's still
if you
out
can
there.
position yourself on that other side, it's sometimes difficult to see it when you're in it, right? If you feel the pressure
I
and
feel
things
ya.
are crashing, you put your head down.
It's
but
a
if you
lot
can,
of pressure.
if you can try and take a step back and say, okay, where is the opportunity? Is the other thing I would say he had going for him is he had liquidity. He had the financial wherewithal to go out and start buying, go to auctions, pay cash, pick up foreclosures dirt cheap. So that's where you have a choice to make. You can play the victim like, well, I would if I had the money. I would, but. Anytime you say but, there's some excuse, some story after it. So maybe you can't do that. What can you do?
Love it.
Right?
Turn it into the positive, right?
It's like, okay, I know there's an opportunity. How can I? Instead of I would, but how can I?
One of the
look for that opportunity.
one of the words, my kids are way older than yours now, but one of the words that I would not allow them to use at home was can't.
That's so funny because our house is the same thing. My wife and I, like, when our kids said, like, you can't, like, can't is not a word that's used in our house.
We don't use that here. That's just a mindset because they go out now into the real world. They're going to be like, I got this. Just build their self-confidence. And the other thing was I read a book by Charles Gibbons, and if you'll meet them, I'm sure, but it's TTR. So it's a short acronym, and it stands for take total responsibility. So the reason I love that, because today we work with tons of realtors, tons of investors, and just anytime you're in business, if people aren't taking responsibility, I'm out of there. I'm only working with people that, if there's shit that happens, take it. It happens to everyone. But
Life's too short to get tied up with those type of people because they will pull you down.
They do.
I know that
Energy.
maybe sounds cliche, but it's 100% true. Like, if you are who you associate with, and if you associate with that, it's going to start to wear on you.
So watch who you guys hang out with. You got to rid some of your old friends. That's just how it is.
Yeah,
family too.
And you hear that there's some truth to that. Like, I think there's also people that can be very supportive, right?
You have to be supportive and kind and set boundaries. But when people cross certain boundaries, it's tough.
Yeah,
it's a tough deal.
But I've never met somebody that's extremely successful that ever plays a victim about anything.
No, everyone on my show.
To your point, it's complete ownership.
Yeah.
Anything goes wrong, even if there's somebody fucked up or there's
we're gonna fuck up.
There
are
things outside of our control that happen to us, but it's like, okay, I fucked up. That's my fault, or whatever it is.
Own it.
How do I fix it? Because if it's somebody else's fault, if you point the finger, then you can't resolve it, right? When you take ownership of it, you are now in control.
Yeah. I'm digging in to figure out how we do this, because we're a team and we want to work as a team.
Because believe me, I've fucked up. I've messed things up, and
I'm sure we will
I've
again.
gotten knocked down, and I think the same. Like, you would say the same. Anybody in this building would say the same. Outside, like anybody that's operating at a high level, they've taken their lumps.
You get punched in the stomach many times, Robbie.
But you learn from it. It's a learning experience.
No one could do it for you. I would tell you that. It's like a visceral where let's put an example. You're working out, you want to squat, I don't know, 400, 315, whatever. Like, I could tell you how to do it, but like, you got to go to the freaking gym and like build up to 315 or whatever you want to squat. So it's the same thing. Like,
And I would say that's actually a great point. And it's a great point to anybody that's looking for mentorship, that's looking for direction. So it's one thing to be told what to do. It's still eventually you got to jump in and figure it out, and you're still going to mess up.
oh yeah.
And it's
But there's power in imperfection too, right?
yeah,
Like there's
like that imperfect action.
imperfect action.
You're taking the action, because without that, you can educate and educate and educate and learn and learn and learn. But if you never take action, you're never going to progress and you're never going to succeed.
And I'm guilty of that too, guys. There's some shit I learn and I don't act, and I just like it's all on me. Like that's why I love Cody, because he's like, you got to get bigger balls. And what does that mean? Like, yeah, I need to step up my game and elevate and be around people that power and proximity, like you said.
Yeah, and you got to take some chances.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it's about, right? Calculated, but some things still scare us, right? Like for me, like there's certain things, like because it's new and I've never done it, so that's just natural, I feel like.
Yeah, new's going to be scary, I think, for anybody in anything. And you're right, I'm not saying to take wild risk.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you should take calculated risk, but I think the word risk scares a lot of people. It's like, no, I'm going to stay here because it's safe and it's what I know. That's the biggest risk, isn't it? Because there's no growth there.
But as Tony Robbins taught, there's always that conflicting value. So you have safety, you risk. There's that you have to figure out a way in your mind to equate, like, risk isn't scary, but like you have to trigger it in your mind, because words have power too, right? So we learn certain things, and it's like, oh, that's risky, or you hear it from your parents, and that means don't do that. Like, don't take. So it all depends where you came up and who you associate with. Again,
yeah.
Because
I think, not that this is the solution to all of it, but a question I ask myself a lot is, okay, if I do it, what is the worst case scenario? Because a lot of times when you can identify the worst case scenario, you can say, okay, I don't like that, but I could live with that if that happened. But if this
interesting,
but and then you're like, instead of focusing on what if it doesn't work, you start to focus on what if it did work. Because I think that's key too. Because once you get in, you start taking, you can't focus on that anymore.
Because if you're focused on what's not working,
but if I look at like, okay, the worst case scenario, I can handle that.
Yes.
Okay, now some of the fear's gone. But once you dive into it, you got to focus on how to make it work. What if it does work? What I need to do to make it work? Because if you start focusing on, well, what if this goes wrong? What if, like that?
It's gonna happen.
It's
gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
It.
I'll give an analogy to that. I hate minivans. No offense if you guys drive minivans, but for years, like I would always call them onto myself because I had some like things in my brain about them. So you have to turn that situation.
It's your RAS, right? Your reticular activating
Yes, we
system.
talked about. You remember that, or you already knew it last time on the show, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't know that. Look it up.
Yeah, Google RAS. It's your reticular activating system.
Power of focus.
And your mind can only focus and retain so much. And so our mind is trained to learn what is not important and what to discard and what to get rid of and what to focus on. So it's that self-talk, what we tell ourselves, what we inject, what we educate, what we listen to, what we read. And you're saying, again, I'll come back to real estate. Like if you say there are no good deals out there, you're 100% fucking right. And you're never going to find a good deal.
You're always going to get the answer
or
like that.
If you say, no, I know there's a good deal out there. I just need to keep going and be persistent. I'm going to find it. You're going to find it. So to that point, that was just on top of your mind. That's why you see it. It's like same thing as when you buy a new car. All of a sudden, everybody's driving your car. Yeah. Everybody's driving their car.
Where did that Mercedes came from? I never noticed it before,
they were always there, but now it's top of mind.
Love it, love it. So, oh man, there's a question I had for you. Let me think of it here. Let's take a water break. Oh, so also about questions. And I learned this years ago. You want a better answer in your brain, ask a better question. So sometimes we ask self-defeating questions that we may be playing victim role, right? So want a better answer, ask yourself a better question. I don't know if you've
That's
ever
good.
heard
No,
that one.
I haven't. I like that though.
Yeah. So it's all a mirror too. Like if we want people to treat us a certain way, we treat others that way. So it's crazy. There's so many mindset things that come into what we do.
I think that's a really good point because, what makes somebody successful in real estate or any entrepreneurial adventure or venture. But if we tie it to real estate, I think the mechanics of real estate, whether it's, whatever strategy you choose, because that's the crazy thing about real estate, there's so many strategies, but whatever strategy you choose, there's the mechanics of that strategy.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that's probably 10%. And then the mindset's like the 90% of the success.
That's everything, mindset. And it's a continual thing on Cut the Curve, like every guest. What's one thing that's got you through success and being where you're at? And it's mindset. But interestingly enough, Trent, I don't know, have you ever joined like a mastermind?
Yeah.
So I never freaking have, but until this year. And it's a guy I met on social, Brian. He's living in the penthouse in Miami now. He used to flip homes in Boston, but he started associating with Bob Proctor. Like he became one of Bob Proctor's leading coaches. Now Maddie, his daughter that's like 27, she's coaching people and she is stellar. So his whole program though is on mindset. So he learned from Bob Proctor, and he's taking those principles, and it's really cool, bro.
So it's interesting. I've had some people say to me, and then I have people on the complete other side of the fence. Actually, a lot more because, again, who you associate with. But I've had some people, like, DM me or message me or whatever it is, and they'll bring up, like, masterminds and things of that nature. Like, well, I figured out how to get, like, the information for free. I would never pay for that. And it's such an interesting mindset to me. Like, you've already made a decision that you won't cut a check to pay for something based off of what information. Have you spoken to people that are there? Have you had those conversations? Or have you already have that mindset of, nope, if it costs money, it's a ripoff type thing?
Right.
Because I kind of had that mindset when I was a kid. Like,
hell yeah, I grew up like that too.
We're not
like,
going to call a mechanic. They're a ripoff. Which,
yes.
Maybe
So
that's a bad analogy.
Beliefs that you learned from your parents or whatever.
The value in a mastermind, here's one value.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, I'm just so new to this, guys, but I'll let you know. And the first class, I already went to the Zoom. I was like, this is amazing. I should do this. But wherever you're at, it's the right time. I tell you that. Right?
It is. And start where you need to start. But this comes back to that power and proximity. Let's say it's $10,000. You pay $10,000.
That's what I paid. Were you there? Did you That's what I did. $10,000 to him.
So you paid $10,000 for a mastermind. Here's one thing you know when you walk into that room: everybody else there paid $10,000 to be there. That says something about the type of person you're with. And then you level up and you pay $50,000 for a mastermind or $100,000 for a mastermind. Yeah. Everybody in that room paid $100,000 to be there. That's the type of people you're now in a room with. And as you start to have conversations, that dialogue,
thoughts,
that collaboration,
ideas. Oh my goodness.
You're working with people that are, because nobody at that level has a scarcity mindset. They're all about collaboration.
Yep.
And not everybody in that room are you going to collaborate with.
You're not going to connect with every person.
But you're going to find a couple people you do that you're going to help their business and they're going to help yours. And that's how you
elevate.
So there really is. Maybe kind of cliche to say the first deal is always the hardest because there's probably some exceptions to that. And
right.
You can have done a bunch of deals and then get one that's really fucking hard. But what makes the first one so hard is just the unknown, having never done it before.
Yes.
Just like you said, you don't know what you don't know. And so one definitely can, after that's done, it just starts to open things up. And
because Trent knows it. Like, I don't know commercials. So I'll be like, that's what we learned in our mindset mastermind. Go to whoever's doing it. Do exactly what he's doing, do exactly what I'm doing if you want to learn midterm, the vacation rental, and we've done it. So why would you? So I think the first step in my mind, Trent, is figure out what you want to do in real estate because there's so many niches, right? Like,
Yeah.
do you want to do commercial wholesale? Do you want to do, Brent Daniels, TTP, single family wholesale? Do you want to do what I do? So there's learning where you want to go because once
Yeah.
you set that foundation and know and get on YouTube, go to meetups, come up with your elevator speech. I always tell people because if you say to me, hey, Flip, I specialize in commercial wholesale, I know he's the guy I need to talk to about commercial wholesale. If you tell them 3 or 4 things, what am I going to send you? Like, what kind of deals? Like,
Yeah. So if it's like send me deals, that one's tough. Right?
yes, yeah.
Because there's
I mean,
commercial. It's so many different asset types. Yes, you have multifamily, but multifamily really is residential on steroids. Like it's residential on scale.
yeah.
And
So what is commercial exactly? What is commercial real estate? Is it because a fourplex is that commercial?
No,
or-
that's residential. 5 units and up is commercial.
Okay.
And so you underwrite it differently, and we're looking at cap rates. And then you have like so many different facets or verticals within commercial real estate. You have industrial, you have flex, you have retail, you have like mobile home parks, you have RV parks, you have self-storage facilities.
Yes.
So there's office, right? We go on and on. So there's a lot of different verticals
I mean, that would drive me
within it.
crazy. That would if I
Well,
was
if
just
you're
starting.
starting in
that's a
commercial,
lot.
I definitely wouldn't try and wrap my arms around all of that. What I do now is pretty broad because I mean hotels. I had a group call with some client partners today, and had my partner that I work with on hotels. She's been in the hotel space for over 30 years. And I never start somebody in the hotel space because there's so many moving parts to it. And the way you underwrite it is a lot different than other asset types. Like multifamily, a lot easier to underwrite than a hotel.
Right.
Or
So
a
where would you
self-storage is a lot
start?
easier.
Where would you start? Say someone like myself. Let's take a perfect example. Good catch, Trent.
You maybe want to restart that question. But.
Okay. Sweet. So where would someone start, Trenton, if they want to learn commercial and?
You call me Trenton?
Oh, sorry.
No, that's fine.
Trent,
I
okay.
think only my grandma who's passed to my aunts. actually
All
call me
right, I'm
Trenton,
your
but-
long lost uncle or something, but so yeah, Trenton. Where would someone start? Do they need a real estate license? Do they, how do they start out in this game?
So if you're looking to start in commercial, I think you need to look at a couple things. That's some questions you need to ask yourself, right? What is your end goal? Is it long-term cash flow? Are you looking, right? Maybe it is long-term cash flow, but you don't have any capital to start with. Well, then you need to probably start with another strategy. Yes, if you really learn the business, you can syndicate, you can raise capital. There's a lot of different strategies you can approach, but what is that end goal? How much capital do you have to put into it? How much time do you have to put into it?
Right.
Are you starting completely fresh, brand new, no knowledge? Do you have some residential experience now?
So I feel like you would do like an analysis of like questions whoever wants to get into maybe your coaching program. We could talk a little bit about that before we end, but you have to know where you're at in life, I guess, right? Like all those things
Absolutely,
matter.
because
like,
some
we need time. You can't just hop in it and say, I'm going to do this because Trenton's doing this. He's been at this many years, so you need time first to learn the grounding, like I'm hopping onto longboards, like learning now but I'm not going to go freaking down these big hills yet. I have to learn how to balance myself and,
So you're absolutely right. So what is that? For some people, they have capital, but they don't have time or don't want to put in the time, don't want to learn. Okay, so maybe it makes sense for you to be an LP, which is a lending partner, with a GP, which is your general partner, who actually finds the deal, they underwrite the deal, they close the deal, they see it start to finish, and you get a nice return on your
Love
money.
it.
If you're brand new, though, look, I don't just wholesale, but what I love about wholesaling, there's not just one thing, there's multiple things. But a couple big things is if you're learning, if you do it correctly, because you can just jump into it, but if you do it correctly, you're not taking on the capital risk. I think that's huge.
And I think
right?
that's a limitation with a lot of people that want to start what we've done for many, I've been at this 2 decades now so for me, I didn't have much money when I started, but I didn't want that to be a limitation in my brain because I do hear that quite often. Oh, you guys got money, so you could do it. No, my family didn't have money.
Yeah,
We were just
that's
normal,
again back
everyday,
to that victim mentality.
like
Well, if I
family.
had the money, I would do it. Well, stop making fucking excuses. Like,
Yeah.
you don't have the money, so what's the solution to that? Is it, do you find a partner? Do you find a strategy where you don't need the capital?
And that's what I'm
Like,
saying. You can
sell the
present
finance,
a
create the
plan. You
finance,
can present the plan, and there's so much money out there. I mean, money's easy. Money's the easy part. The deal is the hard part.
Yeah.
Like locking in the deal.
Yeah. A partner, a friend used to say all the time, if you find the deal, the money will come. So
Yes, it's fact, bro. Yeah.
If you educate yourself and learn how to find
So the point is, I think what we're both saying, guys and gals, don't limit yourself thinking, oh, I don't have $100,000 to chip in to go in commercial or to buy my first investment. Like, you could create it.
Yeah, start where you need to start. Learn how to find a really good deal because money loves to make money. Say it again. Money loves to make money. And not all money knows how to do this. Is it that doctor, that CPA, that attorney?
Yes, I'm working with a doctor right now. Same thing.
Great income.
Yeah.
They got a bunch of capital here, and they would love to get it working over here, but they're not going to become an expert real estate investor.
They're an expert in their space, like they're in surgery. So, but they have.
If you can give them a good return backed by a hard asset, then they're going to want to invest again and again. And now you're not jumping through hoops of conventional lending. It's not based on credit.
That's
right?
all bullshit, basically. I hate that
So again,
stuff. A lot of us don't use bank. Like, I'm not. So our strategies changed a little bit. We're doing a lot of, like you guys do. You do a lot of seller. You're taking over the existing finance and stuff like that.
Yeah, sometimes
right?
it's a sub-2 taking over existing financing. A lot of times it's seller financing. I don't know if a lot of people understand this, but seller financing is very common in commercial real estate, much more common than
that's where it kind of
residential.
started, right? Like, everyone in that space is very more familiar than the residential, but that's becoming well known. So, man, great vibe. I want to talk a little bit before we wrap up, Trent, on social media, because I know for some of you guys, you're probably not very consistent, and you're not showing us who you are. Like, it's important to, again, get the elevator speech, get your social, get an Instagram. Pace Morby told me about 3 years ago, he's like, Flip, you know a lot of people in Arizona, but you don't know anyone really, dude. Like, get on Instagram. And that's how I met you, or I met you actually, where did we meet? At a big convention.
It was a multifamily convention, I think.
Yes, in Scottsdale, that I got comped to a free ticket. I brought a couple other people with me. Stephen Trang was there that day. Shout out to Stephen. He's another brilliant mind here in Arizona. He does Real Estate Disruptors.
Yeah.
His podcast. But yeah, so we kind of already, I think I knew about you because you work with John Trotman, and he used to have the school.
Yep. And he was on your podcast, I believe.
He was on Cut the Curve Instagram during COVID. So that's kind of how I started. And then after COVID, I started doing live podcasts, man.
Yeah.
So it's, man, I can't tell you what it's done. The people I've met.
Yeah, you know,
through
the social media thing. If I'm being just like really honest, I had a very difficult time embracing it. And this is me contradicting myself because I'm saying network and talk to people. But I was also a very private person.
Yes.
I didn't like to put my stuff out there. I didn't have a Facebook account. I didn't have an Instagram account. I had zero intention on getting one. I actually set up my Facebook account, and I don't know if I should say this and have it broadcast out, but I'll say it this way. so I could join some bourbon clubs, some whiskey clubs. That's why. And I had my wife set it up because I'm like, just set me up a Facebook account because I need to get on this book.
I was like, Facebook, no, I'm not, like when I first got on there, I never did anything, but when I got Instagram, man, that was easy for me.
Yeah, and everybody kept saying, we need an Instagram account. You need an Instagram account. I'm like, no, I'm good. No interest. But fast forward now, and I'm putting out more content.
You're consistent. I noticed.
I'm
like,
really
when
trying
did you
to put
start doing that?
To start consistently. I mean, I got the Instagram account a couple years ago, maybe even longer than that. Probably longer than that, a few years ago. Consistently putting out content. That's fairly new.
Yeah.
I'm definitely making a focused attempt to be consistent with it. And I'll say this: it's number one, by putting some content out there that I hope is providing value to people on the other end that want to learn commercial. If I can put out, if I can give some nuggets and give some pieces that help people and kind of open their minds.
Is that
to what
free?
It is.
Are you giving that free, or how do people see that?
All that's free. Look, I'll never charge for just like advice or for the influence, like something like that. Yeah, if somebody wants to, come in and like, hey, I want to do acquisitions. Well, now we're talking about maybe a job or a position.
Right.
Or if somebody says, hey, no, I just want to build my own commercial business and want to be mentored. Well, that's a different conversation. But, if we're giving shout outs, like Ryan Dossie, I don't know if you follow him.
I'm not familiar.
Anyway.
Let me tell you this. For me, I don't watch a lot of videos, which I probably should, but there's a few people I watch their content, but man, it's a strength and weakness because it's a balance thing. I know people are on Instagram all day, all night, so it's like
there's some guys that do there's some guys that do an incredible job. So this is a shout out to Ryan, and if you don't follow him or don't see his stuff,
right?
His strategy, his model is different than mine, but he's got it dialed. And
is he a commercial?
No, he's residential. But he gives away so much great free content. Like, I'm trying to aspire to that. I think I can do a better job.
We all try to aspire someone. Like, and that's
like I would give another. And there's so many people I could name, so I'm going to leave. But like Pace, you mentioned Pace. That guy is a beast,
right? He's an animal.
He's created an incredible community.
Yeah.
He's on YouTube and Instagram.
He's all over. Same with Brent Daniels.
Exactly. Just giving free content
and that's the beauty of social media. We don't have to. Brent, he stays within a 5-mile radius down by Arcadia, and he's got his setup, and he can touch so many people through his show.
So here's where it comes full circle, though, right? And kind of falls in line with help enough people get what they want. You'll always have what you want. The incredible thing for me has been like the deals that have come from that, where people reach out like, hey, I have this commercial property. I'm not quite sure what to do with it. Would you take a look at it? Maybe we could partner on
analyze
it, or whatever it is.
And
so it creates opportunity, and like you said, your reach is so much broader.
So vast,
I've met
bro.
Some incredible people that I JV with on deals.
Yes.
So it's been really, really cool.
Business isn't conducted like it used to be when we first came up, man. So how do you feel about realtors working with you? Like licensed realtors?
Love it. Look, and I work more with brokers, but basically
what's the difference for people watching?
Well, you have a broker a brokerage, say in residential, where an agent needs to hang their license. So you have a brokerage and the broker that oversees that and is typically taking a piece of that commission. Where in commercial real estate, it's the title is a broker. It's not an agent. Same thing.
Okay.
Those relationships are so important. Now I find that there's really kind of 4 types of brokers in the commercial space. You get the asshole.
He's just hard
he has
people.
A big ego.
I heard egos are really big in commercial real estate. I don't know if that's fact or
big dollars,
fiction.
Big egos, right?
There you go.
But yeah, there's some big egos. Want to tell you about who they work with, the deals they've done, and they're gonna push to really kind of vet you to And I know how to work with those guys and typically position myself so they want my business versus the other way around. And if it doesn't work, it's fine. There's a million other brokers out there, but you get the
Love that attitude,
you
bro.
get the lazy,
yeah,
you get the lazy broker that won't call you back, that won't text you back, won't respond to some emails.
It's
right?
single family, yeah.
Yeah, it's the same in any industry,
right?
You get different types of people, and then you get the broker that's a great broker. He or she, they'll call you back. They're responsive. They'll answer your questions about a property, but they're never going to feed you pocket deals because they're very successful and they've done it for 20, 30 years. They already have their group of buyers that they got to keep fed, right?
Yes.
It doesn't matter.
Can we talk about that real quick, that old school dude? Because one of my good buddies, Joe, shout out to Joe, owns Proper Boxing, probably by you. It's 7th Street in Coulter down there. So he trains a lot of the Brophy kids, and it's changed their lives because boxing is just a sport that's just you in the ring, and you got to battle. So I went down there on Saturday.
And the other guy punching you in the face.
Exactly. So, I mean, I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to start. So Joe's been boxing forever. So he also trains high-level professional people. So he'll fly to L.A. And so I was down there Saturday with him, and he's like, the guy that's coming in, he's in commercial real estate. He's been doing it 35 years. You probably actually know him here in Phoenix. And he tells me the dude's a beast. I'm like, what do you mean? So he's like, just watch him, Phil. He calls me Phil, just watch him. And so this guy walks in. He is shorter than me, and he's kind of a heavier guy and probably in his 60s. And he's been boxing 5 years, man. And so I'm doing my own gig back there, but this dude's a beast in the gym. I'm like, is he still going on that bag? And that's what I want to relate to you guys, being consistent. He's been at it 5 years. So it's not easy starting commercial, I'm sure, but just stay in focus. Like, don't quit. Like, because I feel like people start to make breakthroughs, and then right when the breakthrough is about to happen, they're like, I can't do this anymore. Yeah.
And it could be frustrating, too, because maybe you have a deal that you think is done, and then it breaks right before it goes across the finish line.
Yeah,
it falls out.
Oh man, we've had all had those. You put so much energy and time.
If you're new to it and that's never happened to you before, you're counting the money, right? You're counting the money. You're like, this is going to pay off. This is all worth it. And then when that breaks, it can be defeating.
It's a blow. It's like, you talk about boxing. It's like getting hit right in the back.
But that's a learning experience.
Yes.
Of how to handle things.
Yes, that was meant to happen,
time.
guys. How do we face that adversity?
Yeah.
You got a mentor now in Trent or me. We could encourage you. We could pull you over the finish line, because the next deal, most likely you learned so much from that last deal, you'll get this deal.
Yeah, and the biggest thing is don't quit.
Yeah.
Right? Just don't quit. Like if you have an end goal in mind and you see this as your vehicle.
If you see it, because again, read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. I mean, that was incredible. I was here last month with Cody, and they have a deal exchange meetup. So guess who was here?
Yeah, Kiyosaki was here.
No, he wasn't.
Oh, no, he was
Mark
at the
Victor
apartment.
Hanser.
Yeah, I saw
Mark Victor Hansen. So I got to not only shake his hand, take a freaking picture.
Cody's podcast.
On Cody's podcast. He's the superstar author from Chicken Soup for the Soul series. He has teenagers. What a blessing. So we saw him here, and then that same night, Sophia Willett, shout out to Sophia. She does commercial apartments. I didn't know her before the podcast, but she invited me to the commercial meetup, same night, and that's who I met, Robert Kiyosaki. But I've known him through his book for years. But again, the point of that story is, like, if I didn't go to Deal Exchange, if I didn't go to the commercial, I could have sat at home and what's.
And then you say, gosh, I want that, but things just don't fall into place. And
there's no luck. You show up, and you work hard, you show up, you're going to have luck. Like, put in your work.
Blake, I'm pulling him into this, but he and I have had this conversation, right? Yeah. You have to have the movement. You can have the goal, and you can say you're manifesting something, but unless you start moving and taking
action, Blake.
Blake's
our awesome videographer with Marcos here.
Yeah, thanks, guys. But it never happens. You start taking those steps and start taking the action. It's not going to be a straight line.
No,
but the pieces will start to fall into place if you don't get off your ass, go out and talk to people, go to locate
and just have fun with it, guys. Yeah. Don't take it too serious. Just go out. I never knew I was going to take a picture with Mark Victor Hansen and his wife, or Robert Kiyosaki, and You know, we went to that apartment commercial. I'd never been. The guy that spoke, you may know him.
It's from 48 Equity, right? I believe.
I'm not sure, but he said he's one of the largest buyers here in Arizona, partners with Robert, but he's only been in the space 4 years and he's freaking crushing it. So that shows you how quick, if you're around the right people.
I love that you said that. It can happen a lot quicker than you think.
From when we came up, right?
Yeah.
Because ours wasn't like this collaborative, like take on mentee, mentor.
So I always say it happens slow and then it happens really fast because I try and give people that expectation. Like at first it's going to seem like we're creeping. This thing's moving way too slow.
Like you're in mud trying to.
Not, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like that book, Pound the Stone.
I haven't heard that
I think
one.
that's what it's called. But it basically a guy's tasked with breaking this big stone and he's given a hammer. And he's hammering away and hammering away and hammering away and hammering away, and eventually it just seems futile, like nothing's happening. But he keeps hammering and keeps hammering. Of course, you want to quit, like it just seems impossible.
Yeah, right when.
And then, like on the 1,000th swing or whatever it is, the rock cracks. Well, it wasn't the 1,000th swing; it was the 999 before, and it goes slow. But once things crack, and you crack that open, it becomes a lot easier, and then it starts to go really, really fast. And so, yeah. Don't give up. Be persistent. Don't quit.
Yes, and there's a lot of power in that, but I don't know what would get some people through that. Like, what do you recommend? Like, if you're, because again, there's some security for some people watching us right now that are in 9-to-5 positions. They're like, you know, I get a steady check.
You do, and you get a steady check. And look, if you're happy with that, more power to you, right? Who am I to decide? Like, everybody has to do what's right for them. But I think in comfort lies mediocrity. And so, yes.
I want to be uncomfortable nowadays. That's
Yes,
true fact. Like, I want to be like.
Because you can be comfortable. You know you got the paycheck, but you're never. We have one life. That's how we have one life. And I don't want to look back and say, I wish I'd done that. Or I wish I had tried that.
I hate that. My dad always said, I should have. Ooh, that, like, I started reading, I started listening to his language, and he just didn't know, like, should have, like. Yeah, that. And I taught my kids. I had
a gentleman that he reached out to me. He DM'd me, and it was Facebook, and said, asked a question about commercial and whatever, and I gave him an answer. He's like, yeah, I'm just too old to learn something new. And I'm like, I didn't say this because I didn't want to be a jerk, but I'm like, well, if you think you're too old, you're right. If you don't think you have enough time, you're right.
Exactly.
If you don't think you have enough money to do it, you're right. Like, whatever you fucking tell yourself,
every day you got to tell yourself something in the mirror, bro.
You believe your story more than anybody else because it's your story.
Yes.
And I'm not like just pointing the finger here. I've been guilty of this too. But if we
yeah.
tell ourselves something like that, we can sleep really good at night, and it's not our fault. Well, I would, but I'm too old. What are you fucking talking about?
I love when people call me out on some shit that I'm limiting myself. They're like, you just said that? No, change the way you're saying to the affirmation, the positive. It's the perfect time. You're starting your course, blah, blah, whatever it is in life.
So to answer your question, like, how do you get somebody through that? It's good to be around people that are having success in it. I think that's huge. You can get like a little revitalization, a little more juice to like, oh shit, okay, this is working. Because if somebody else can do it, I can learn how to do it too. Like, so that helps.
Love it.
I think being invested in it.
Skin in the game? Are you saying
skin in the game? I think people discount that a lot.
Here's one thing I used to do. I used to have, and I can't remember the organization I started. It was a while back. So it was on Ocotillo Golf Course, and we were very consistent. We'd sponsor, like, with the title company, and we'd have different speakers for breakfast. But we charge for that because I just felt like, if you can't spend $20 for a breakfast, it's probably not a good fit here. Like, it's okay to get a lot of, there's free stuff, but like at some point you have to put skin, like, to me, like, that wasn't a lot. That was just covering our costs basically. Yeah. So like, that's what you're talking about at base level. Like, you got to bet on yourself, put money into yourself.
If you're not going to put money in yourself, why would anybody else put money in you or invest in you? And yeah, if you're always looking for a free lunch, like I
That's
think
the
that
exact
says
thing, because I don't want any free lunches. I hate free lunch. Like there's always there's got to be some kind of trade in that, like in
so.
my mind.
I'll keep this short, but
Okay.
I don't remember how old I was. It doesn't matter. In my 20s, and I was not working out. Thought I'd start working out. Bought a gym membership that was like month to month, like $9 a month, whatever you could cancel anytime. And I think I went one time. Like, why would I be surprised? That's first of all, that's how those gyms make money because they know you're not going to go, but you're not going to cancel for a long time. But I'd already given myself an exit. When I really started working out, I wrote a big fucking check. I made a decision, and there's power. Like there's power in making a decision. Not say I'm going to, or I should have, or I want to. Like making a decision. I'm going to reach that goal, whatever it takes.
Yes, there's no other way. Like I'm either gonna burn the boat or like
So
like,
burning the boats is perfect. So I walked into a gym, and I grabbed the first salesperson there. He didn't have to sell me anything, and I said, "Here's what I want. I want a year membership with your gym, and I want a personal trainer, 5 days a week, for the next year, and I'll pay for all of it up front today."
Wow,
Like true story.
man. Wow.
And I wrote a check. It was a big fucking check.
At 20 some years old, huh?
Yeah, and there's a backstory to that. Too.
Right. But you bet on yourself. What I love about that, like
this comes to the skin in the game.
Yeah.
Well, the next day, guess where I went? To the gym, because I'd spent a lot of money. So like I showed up, and the next day I showed up, and anytime like you start working out for the first time, like
man,
after a few days
man,
I could barely move. I couldn't.
You're sore. You're sore.
Well, it hurt to sit down. Yeah.
Because you haven't,
But
so there's a stage you have to get past.
But I had somebody holding me accountable, telling me that I had to show up. But here, what's really cool about it, just 4 weeks, okay, a month into it, I started to see results physically. Wasn't it my goal, but I started to see results, and that made me want to go more.
Yeah.
Success breeds confidence, and confidence breeds more success.
Shit, yeah.
But most people never taste a little bit of success to build that confidence to keep
I
going.
feel you, because it was the same thing for me. I was 18, skinny as hell, but I lived by a gym, and two guys that liked me enough, they kept on me. They're like, Flip, or they called me Phil back then. Phil, you got to get into the gym. These were dudes out of New Jersey, so they're very aggressive. Like, and I ended up staying at that gym. They quit working out, but I loved it so much, and it just built my confidence. And so whatever it is, guys, and you write a check like that, whatever.
Well, because I want to say one more thing to this. I said I was going to keep it short. I'm off on a riff here, but I feel strongly about it. This is something that I'm probably guilty of saying, but you hear said a lot too. Well, I just want to dip my toe in the water. I just want to test it out. I'm going to dip my toe in the water.
Okay.
You will never fucking succeed dipping your toe in the water.
Hell no.
Why?
I don't know any dudes who
you got one toe in the water
that.
and the rest of you is
Yeah,
out.
you fully have to commit, right?
You commit and say, I'm doing it or don't. Do it or don't. Don't like half-ass it.
Yeah.
Because if you half-ass it, you'll get half-ass results, right? So, like, that's that skin in the game or writing the check or whatever you want to do. If you don't dip your toe in the water, if you say, nope, I'm in, I'm all in, burn the boats, whatever you want to call it. All right, so start putting in a conscious effort to have them. Maybe it's going to a meetup. Maybe it is writing a check to join a mastermind, say around those other people.
Before any of this, I wrote out a plan. Like, I want to meet a title company. I want to meet realtors. I want to have CPAs. So I actually reached out to them. Was it uncomfortable? Yeah, because I didn't know anyone or know anything. But I just met Security Title, Valerie Overfield. She turned me on to Monica, who was from Austria, a private money lender. Next thing, she's writing 100% checks for my deals and shit. And she was always very affirmative. You're going to be a millionaire. You're this, that. And so someone will believe in you, but until you believe in yourself, no one's going to believe in you, bro.
Yep.
Right?
Amen.
Amen to that. So we're going to wrap it up. I mean, I got so much nuggets here today, and it's been a real blessing. So can you tell us about, because one of the things that energy, like, so manifestation, like, how do you go about your business day? I'd be interested to see how that all comes about? Because you're a family man, you got a lot of kids, and you got a lot of moving parts to your life. It sounds like everyone,
and I think
like
everyone, right? That's not
sports
just me.
and
Everybody, I've got young kids. As soon as I'm done, I'm running to soccer tryouts. Like my wife, that's having the right people. Like shout out to my wife, like Jessica. She's amazing because she runs a business. Her and her partner, and she's a designer. They do high end residential fix and flips, and she runs our family. So like
that's big.
Like,
but she figures out how to make it work.
Like finding that time to be present and be with the family is super, super important to me. My workday in that flow, it's evolving. It's always evolving.
Yeah.
But there are some key things to that, like, planning out my day, trying to get better at always blocking time. And the reason I say try to get better because I block time, but there are things that pop up like chaos, right, that need addressed.
Attention. And
as business grows, then you have to scale, and that means bringing in other people and then training and all of that. But like to the manifestation piece, I daily write down what I want to accomplish that month.
Yep, that day I do daily.
And then am I going to do that day to get me to that end goal? And then there are certain things that I've written that I reread and say to myself to try and, look, you're going to be bombarded with shit as soon as you walk out the door. So to get your head in the right place.
And that's how do you start your morning,
focused.
too.
Yeah.
For me, it's about me in the morning because I have to we get bombarded by a lot of stuff out there. So you got to put on your shield or whatever you want to call it, like your I do quiet time, prayer, attitude of gratitude, all that stuff before I even walk out that door.
Yeah, so I do that stuff in the morning when
everyone's
my wife and kids are still asleep.
Nice.
And it's quiet, it's dark, and that's nice. And then when the kids get up,
you're dad.
I unplug and I'm dad, and I help with breakfast and pack their lunches and like that stuff. Because then my wife, she gets them ready, whatever. But I'm there to see them like go off to school.
And that's why I got into real estate because I wanted freedom of time to do that, to go through their backpack after school. So you could make a choice, a conscious effort, but you got to know where you're going because like people will pull you like in all these directions.
What's the saying? If you don't know where you're going, it doesn't matter what road you're on.
Ooh, another good one. Yeah. So know where you're going, guys. Before ending, Trent, anything you want to share with our audience on Cut the Curve? I hope you guys got some nuggets, man. I loved it today. I learned a lot.
Yeah, no, just like, whatever it is, whatever the road you're on is important for sure. You need to know where you're going. And then pick your vehicle. It doesn't have to be real estate. I like what I do. I enjoy it, but it's not... you like what you do. There are so many different strategies in real estate, and of course, it doesn't have to be real estate. But find something that resonates with you. I think that's key.
And rejection. I heard you talk about rejection. Learn to take rejection, man. I used to collect 100 business cards, and it wasn't about rejection. It was like my goal is 100 cards today. Like that's it.
Well, because I want to wrap this up.
Okay.
We're talking about different types of brokers. The broker you want is that young broker that's hungry, trying to build that card.
Yes.
And so, you're going to get a lot of rejection as you're talking to different brokers to find the right one. You're going to get rejections when you talk on properties. It's just, it's part of it. It's part of life, and it's all leading you to the one that's going to say yes. And
it's a unicorn.
The right fit,
it's a unicorn, right? That's just one shot. I always say we just need one shot. And
so, I would sign off with one thing.
Okay.
Whatever that end goal is, that picture for you, think bigger, make it bigger.
Yeah,
don't limit yourself.
Yeah, and I think Trent's talking to me too. I feel that because we all need someone to lift us higher, right? Like whoever you are. Like I'm sure you have people in your life that like,
oh my God.
Trent, you're being a blankety blank. Come on, step your game up, bro.
It does not matter what milestone I hit or where I get in my life. I'm just always amazed and blown away that people that are here.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter where you get, there's somebody who's crushing it at a whole nother level.
Yes.
And it doesn't, I'm not just financial, like whatever that is.
No,
spiritual, physical, family, right?
Yes.
I hope you have, I know I have people that I look up to that I can model things after and say, okay, I want my marriage, my family life to be more like that. I want my physical fitness to be more like that. So now I can start doing what they do. Or, wow, I hit this milestone in real estate, but look what they're doing. I want to learn how to.
Yeah.
So we should always be challenging ourselves.
And we're not
and
comparing
growing.
ourselves to others, but we need to see what is possible, right? Look at Roger Bannister with the 5-minute mile. It's like all of a sudden
I'm going to correct you, 4-minute.
Our 4-minute. I'm starting to run more, but anyway, 4-minute mile. He hit that milestone, and then the story is runners started hitting it all the time, bro. Like,
yeah, it was about 4 weeks later somebody beat his record, but
4
nobody had done
weeks?
it until he did it. Don't
for all
quote
those
me on
years,
that.
but yeah.
And now high school kids do it, but that comes back to mindset, right? It was impossible until somebody saw it
broke
was
that
done.
barrier.
It's like, oh, that is possible. So yeah, I just leave with that. It's just like,
Beautiful.
think bigger, challenge yourself. That's where the growth is. I think that's where happiness
Love
is.
it, bro.
Like you can get in that I'm comfortable. I don't think I can't speak for you. I just know I wouldn't be truly happy just being comfortable.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That
Everyone's on
challenge,
different
that growth.
paths, though. So
Yeah, exactly.
find what works for you guys, man, and women out there. And I thoroughly enjoyed Trent. Second time on the show. How do people find you, Trent?
You got to look really hard. Yeah, just really simple to find me on social media. Instagram's my name, Trent Ellingford, Ellingford. That's my handle. So pretty
Awesome,
easy to
Trent
find.
Ellingford. And whenever I type your name in, Trent comes in with the T capital, but then Ellingford's all capitals for some reason. So I don't know why, but you guys don't need all capitals. But I learned a ton here on Cut the Curve, where I interview mentors, moguls, and entrepreneurs. Trent fits into all that. He's crushing it out there. He's got a new course that we didn't get a chance to talk about, and he's got a webinar you do, right?
Yeah, I launched my first live webinar actually yesterday.
Wow, congrats.
And went really well, albeit some hiccups leading towards it.
Always, right?
Exactly.
Always imperfection, right?
And room to improve, I think, and I hope, but I think people got some real value from it. And so, yeah, we'll probably do more in the future. And, collaborating with other people in the space. And yeah, I just plan on continuing to put more out there. So
Beautiful. Well, we're here for you guys. I want to say this. Shine your light on someone today. Bless them. You'll be blessed. Be a mirror. We'll see you on the next Cut the Curve. Peace.
yeah, thanks for having me on. Cheers.
Awesome.